Hey guys, Luke here from 3D Tutor. Recently, we've just hit a 15,000 subscriber mark, and as a way to show our appreciation, we are giving away a free decal pack consisting of 22 unique 4K resolution decal materials. With the focus being to enhance the street environment, it includes rust and dirt decals, blood splatters, and a whole lot of graffiti texture overlays. This pack is set up with PBR material textures consisting of roughness and normal values, so it'll look great within any type of a scene. I've created these from scratch by making use out of the Substance Painter, which allowed me to work on PBR values real time and set up proper values for bump maps and reflections. And even it allowed me to paint in custom masking on top of it. The pack is set up to work with Blender, Substance Painter, and Unreal Engine 5, but it's not limited to them as it'll work great on any rendering software. So now that we went over what's inside, let's walk over on how to set them up within our programs. In order to make use out of the decals within the Substance Painter, it's actually quite simple. I'm just going to open up myself a new sample project, which if you want to open it up yourself, you can just click on File, Open Sample, and just select Meet Matte. And then afterwards, all we gotta do is just get ourselves the Substance Painter tools and just drag it into the library folder. And then afterwards, it'll ask you to which way you wanted to import it. Currently, I'm just importing it into the session itself. If you wanted to keep it permanently within the Substance Painter software, make sure to add it onto your library instead. Then afterwards, all you gotta do is just click import and it'll load up all of the brushes, all of the decals within the library of your left-hand corner. And then all you gotta do is just simply click on the tool itself once and it'll apply all the opacity and the texture maps necessary. And then afterwards, by simply tapping on your mesh, you'll be able to directly apply it onto your asset. And if you want your opacity to be a little bit stronger, what you can do is just simply click on the same spot multiple times and that'll reapply the same decal and give you a stronger result. But yeah, that's all it takes for you to make use out of the decals within the Substance Painter. As for the Unreal Engine 5, it's going to be a rather simple process as well. What you need to do is just simply open up your project. Then within the project itself, you're going to want to locate the content folder. So within the content browser, just locate the content folder and right click on it. And then you're going to be able to click Show in Explorer, which will open up a folder within. And basically, you're just going to drag everything from the Unreal Engine 5 pack for decals onto the content folder. And once you do that, you're going to get yourself a new folder within the project itself. Then afterwards, you can go onto the Unreal Engine window itself and open up the decals folder, locate the materials folder, and then within it, you're going to be able to see all the material instances right from the get-go. And all you gotta do is just simply drag the material instance onto your project, onto your scene, and right away, it'll create you a new decal, which if you were to rotate it, you'll be able to position it in any way that you want. So right now, by me simply positioning it to the side of the wall, I'm able to place it nicely alongside of this building and get myself some nice results for the graffiti. And if you're not able to see the projection of the decal, all you gotta do is just make sure you extend the projection box itself, which if you're not seeing the projection box, just click the letter G within the viewport, enable game view, so that it would reach the mesh which you're trying to apply the projection for the decal. And that's all there is to it. We can just make use out of all of the material instances and use the projection method to just simply apply it onto your scene. So yeah, we can make use out of the graffiti, we can make use out of the dirt and whatnot, add some additional detail onto our world and get some really nice results out of it. And now if I were to go back from the unlit mode and see how it looks, so even if I had some additional detail behind those decals, it's going to look like it's part of the world simply because of the transparency that the decals are using. So yeah, it's a pretty simple process in regards to making use out of it for the Unreal Engine 5. Now, as for the Blender setup, it's a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to go step by step in order to create the decals for the scene. So to start off, we're just going to create ourselves a simple plane that we're going to be able to make use out of and set ourselves a decal with it. And I'm just going to position this at the side of a square, since we're going to project the entire texture onto this cube. And now in order to set up the material for this plane, we're going to make use out of a node wrangler. So let's go ahead and make sure we have that enabled from within the Blender preferences. And afterwards, once we have that set up, let's go ahead and create ourselves a quick new material for us to make use out of. So within the material tab, we're just going to delete the previous material from the plane, and we're going to apply ourselves a new material. Then we can just rename it as Decal and leave it as is. Now, in order to get ourselves the textures, we're going to make use out of the shading tab in the upper corner, and then we're going to make use out of the node wrangler. So I'm just going to click on the node itself, click Ctrl Shift and T, which stands for texture, then locate myself the decal that I want to use. In this case, I'm going to make use out of the Blood 2 decal, which then within it, we're going to find ourselves the textures that we want. So for us to make use out of decal, we're going to select base color, metallic, normal. Just make sure that the normal is set as OpenGL, and of course the roughness channel. So by selecting all of them at once, we'll be able to directly link it within Blender as it automatically links everything together. We can't select the opacity by itself though, so we gotta make sure we import that in and link it manually. So I'm just going to locate it within my folder, an opacity channel, an opacity texture that is, and just simply we're going to attach it to the alpha channel like so. Now by default, it's not going to work directly as is. The reason being is that within the material itself, we need to change it from opaque blend mode to alpha blend. And this way we'll be able to get ourselves a nice transparency out of a texture map, just like that. So now, of course, we're still not quite done with the overall decal, since we have a nice plane which we could technically just place it on top of an object. But if we wanted to make sure that it warps around an object, we have to set it up the plane with the modifiers. So in order for us to do that, firstly, we're going to make use out of a subdivision surface. This will just give us more vertices to work with, because what we're going to use is basically going to project the vertex point onto our mesh. And so if we don't have enough vertices, it'll just create a lot of clipping within an asset. So we got to make sure we have that. And afterwards, we're going to make use out of the shrink wrap to get the object projected onto our asset. We're going to make use out of the warp method as tangent normal project, since I find that gives us the better results when applying decals. And then all that we're left to do is make sure that the target is set as an object that we want to project the decal data on. And in order to make sure we avoid clipping, we got to make sure that the offset is set to a bit of a higher value that's not going to be completely zero. Otherwise, it's just going to project directly onto an object, and we want it to be slightly above that. One more thing before we leave, I'm also increasing the subdivision count a little bit more if we want to get more of an accurate data results and get a better type of a warping data within the subdivision modification. Just make sure to increase the amount of subdivisions you get. This way we'll get more vertex data and we'll get better results out of it. And in order to show off the decal projection, I'm just going to increase the edge smoothness of the cube. And also, I'm just going to enable the shade smooth. So if you're getting some visible polygons, just make sure to right click on the decal and enable shade smooth. And then afterwards, by playing around with the offset, we're able to directly project it onto our asset in a distance that we want. And that's all it takes in order for us to get a real nice projection within an asset. And yeah, one more thing though, whenever you're trying to move this entire projection, what you need to know is that it actually projects from the original mesh onto an asset. So the original mesh that we're having is actually going to be affecting the shrink wrap modifier. And so if you want to get a better results, I recommend you turning off the modifier first, then adjusting the angle of your mesh to be as close to an angle as the surface of your projection to the object. Then afterwards, once you're done by rotating your plane the way you want it to be, then you can turn on the modifier back and get nicer results. Otherwise, it'll be also warping the entire texture and giving us some nasty results. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all it takes to set up decals within Blender. It's not much, but it's a bit of an extra hassle in comparison to the other programs, since you got to make sure you select the type of asset you want your decal to be projected on. So that's going to be it for my video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to be seeing you soon.